Hey there, it's Nat. So I thought I'd just talk you through one of the models that came out of me over the last 10 years as I was considering the positive and negative expressions, or the light and the dark side of the inner warrioress, which just as much kind of has some applications for the warrior energy. But like this particular model, like it draws on a little bit of inspiration from. There's a model that they taught us when I did transpersonal art therapy at Phoenix Institute in Melbourne. They have this great model that describes energy states and peak states, right? So it's sort of inspired, but it's just me taking it a little bit further to explain what I call the choice point. So basically, what you've got in the original Phoenix model, right? You basically had, so on this axis, you've got, this is like the energy level, yeah? And so that's like high energy up there. And then you have low energy states over here. And the sort of like, this is like the nature of the experience on this axis. So it's a bit like positive and negative experience or emotional state, right? So let's just say state for that one. So over here, when you go into a low energy state, so you can either lower your energy down or you're repressing your energy on this side. So on this side, when you're trying to lower your energy state to relax, you go into a state of relaxation. You might get there via meditation. On this side, it might be a little bit more by what we don't want to feel. I've often found the consequence of when we try and shut ourselves down completely, it's like we press the pause button and we get stuck. And the end result of that is like a feeling of either nothingness or like feeling like depression. Because if we're repressing our energy completely, it can feel a bit like no feeling. As opposed to if we let it flow back up here, you can also imagine like there's a little person on this axis as well, and it's like your energy system as well, that you're letting your energy flow up through you or not. And when you do that, traditionally, sort of in the Phoenix model, we talked about with high energy up here, they were talking about ecstatic peak states, right? So you might get there through doing a dance activity or something else. Tantra is another example of something that can take you into an ecstatic peak state, for example. How I talk about this is when you are confronted with a circumstance in life which energizes you, you potentially can react in one of two directions, right? So either you're coming from a place of inspiration, or potentially, if something triggers you, we can also kind of go into the negative reaction, which might be or might look a bit like aggression, or it may be, another way to kind of talk about it is this might be based on fear, and this might be based on the expression of love or passion, right? But this might be, going into some form of aggressive or not so happy state. And basically the premise is that in any given situation in life, when we're confronted with a circumstance, every single human being on the planet has the capacity for both, right? We have the capacity to go in that direction or this direction or that direction. Like I said, this being the potential endpoint potentially of repression, when we try and shut any of that down, or we try and shut down some of this negative reaction or this negative energy, whatever expression it takes, that can actually lead to exactly this. Yeah? Which is why we talk about the importance of shadow work, and working out what exactly is hiding in your shadow and in your dark side so that you can take ownership of that, become self aware around that, so that when any given circumstance, like the kind that we see on social media right now, where you have a lot of people who are stressed, who are overwhelmed, who are just trying to make sense of the world gone mad and find a sense of control and sense of security. Like, we can find ourselves when somebody challenges our opinion quite easily. You've got a choice of going both ways. Either you have a choice of finding the love and the curiosity and trying to understand someone and find the place of connection within that, or we can go into the place of reaction. Yeah? That one could be tempting. I was actually watching a few episodes of Outlander over the last couple of days. And, it always makes me think of this, like, Scotland Highlanders in the 18th century, are just the perfect example of when you think of some of the episodes when you've got two bunch of men from different clans in a bar and one makes a crack about the other's woman, then all of a sudden beer, chairs, and fists are flying around the room within 20 seconds. It's kind of like the real life example of somebody dangled a little bit of a trigger in the mix, and you can kind of choose, right? Either you're going to be hooked into that or you're not. You get to choose in that. So yeah, this is I've found in my life, having been being a Sagittarian, and having a lot of fire energy, the fiery warrior energy, as well as being part English and part Scottish, which in the 18th century that would have been challenging because, they didn't like each other very much, so you're at war with yourself in that respect. But, I also identify with that example I just gave you because, somewhere that's in my DNA, that kind of passionate, fiery energy has been the thing I've had to learn to harness and temper and make sure that I'm very careful with not being, I'm choosing the direction that I want to move in. And Lord knows I had phases in my teens when I was about 14. I went off the rails there for a little bit because I had a phase there where, in trying to come into my power around this and find the place of, because a couple of my friends were a bit like, you're not fighting back. You're like being this pacifist approach. There were things in my life that were happening, some things at home and some things in life where they're like, you need to stand your ground. You don't have to be all love and light all the time. And I'm about to do another model and talk about that journey to owning our voice and, owning our power a little bit more in another video. But, that was a bit of a thing at the same time for me because, I went through a phase there where it was like having no reaction, then went into the reaction of complete reactivity of going into any time someone made a crack or challenged me or did something, I was a bit like kick first and ask questions later. And that eventually doesn't get you very far. There is another way to do things, and that other way to do things is to realize when you're triggered as hell and to step back and to choose this connection, the point of where you can grow together and relate more rather than choosing the pleasant, sometimes pleasurable catharsis of this space of that's the path of least resistance. Sometimes it feels really easy. Think Kylo Ren in the Star Wars movies, like with the dark side trying to encourage you to just acquiesce to this one and just give in to it. But it's all about the choice. It's all about the choice we make about which direction we go. So yeah, just thought I'd share that in this little video with you. Hey, is this familiar to you? Is this something that you've been challenged by seeing in life of late, or something else you've journeyed with? Feel free to share with me your experience and feel free to add your comments. Love to hear.